You are listening to the Nightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Welcome to the AAC Report, only on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Coming up, we'll recap Week 5 and get you ready for Week 6, including our Spotlight Game of the Week, Temple taking on Cincinnati. Ryan Wallen of Owls247.com is standing by in the first green room and will join us to talk about that in just a little bit. Speaking of the Bearcats, boy, they got it done. They end number 9 Notre Dame's 26-game winning streak in South Bend, a 24-13 victory as the Bearcats go to 4-0 entering AAC play. Quarterback Desmond Ritter threw for 297 yards, had 2 touchdown passes as part of a 17-point second quarter, while wide receiver Alec Pierce had 6 catches for 144 yards. Ritter also scored the big clinching touchdown after the Irish pulled to within 4 in the fourth quarter, and the Bearcats answered with a touchdown drive on the score by Ritter. Cincinnati, by virtue of that victory in their first road win ever against a top 10 team, they are now number 5 in this week's AP poll, the highest ranking for an American Athletic Conference team in the league's 9-year history. SMU moves to 5-0. The Mustangs opened AAC play with a 41-17 win over South Florida at Gerald J. Ford Stadium. They held a 10-point lead midway through the fourth quarter before Tanner Mordecai and wide receiver Danny Gray connected on a pair of short TD passes to put the game out of reach. Mordecai, 287 through the air, 4 touchdowns. That gives him at least 4 TDs in every game this season. An incredible 24 touchdown passes so far in 2021, 5 more than any other FBS player, and twice as many as his closest competitor in the conference. SMU now has moved into the AP Coaches Poll at number 24, their third consecutive season they have been nationally ranked. Houston sits atop the American at 2-0. Cougars' 45-10 romp over Tulsa last Friday. The stingy Houston defense limited Tulsa to 289 total yards, forced 3 turnovers. Running back Alton McCaskill rushed for 3 touchdowns and 77 yards on 17 carries, as they have now won 4 straight games. East Carolina has won 3 in a row as the Pirates build a 24-0 second quarter lead on their way to a 52-29 rout over Tulane. Running back Keaton Mitchell adding to his 2021 season with a 68-yard touchdown run, part of a 222-yard 2-touchdown day. Holton Ahlers threw for 288 and 2 touchdowns of his own. The Pirates had 612 yards of offense, including 300 yards on the ground at 310 and also 300 in the air at 302. Temple trailed Memphis 17-0 late in the second half in Philadelphia, but the Owls scored 17 points in the last 5:03 of the second quarter to go to the locker room tied at the half before taking a 34-31 win in the conference opener for both teams. DeJuan Mathis led the way with 355 yards of total offense, 35 of 49 for 322 and 3 touchdowns. Also added 53 on the ground on 4 carries. Ahmad Anderson Jr. had 108 yards and a touchdown on 3 receptions. Memphis's Calvin Austin III continuing his march of great offense, 8 catches, 104 yards. Seth Hennigan was 24 of 40 for 305 and 3 touchdowns. Navy scored their first win of the year as the midshipmen scored the final 17 points in a 34 victory come from behind victory against UCF at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. Navy had 406 yards of offense, including 348 of them on the ground, and that is a prototype midshipman offense. And they had possession for more than 39 minutes. Quarterback Ty Lavatai rushed for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. Diego Fago had 11 tackles, 1.5 for loss, and the big fumble that set up the go-ahead touchdown. UCF got a pair of touchdown passes from quarterback Mikey Keene as he made his first career start. All right, let's check the schedule for this coming weekend, week number 6. And it starts Thursday night. Houston is at Tulane. That'll be 7:30 on ESPN. The Cougs lead the all-time series 18-7 and won the meeting last year by a 49-31 score. Turning to Saturday, SMU is at Navy. That's a 3:30 kick on CBS Sports Network. Navy leads the all-time series 13-9. SMU did win last year's meeting 51-37. East Carolina, UCF, 6 o'clock on ESPN+. The Pirates lead the all-time series 10-9. UCF won the game last year in 2020 by a 51-28 score. Memphis at Tulsa, that's 9 o'clock Saturday night on ESPN2. The Tigers lead the all-time series 19-11. Memphis won the last meeting in 2019 by a 42-41 score. Next up, we'll talk about our Spotlight Game of the Week coming up Friday night. That is going to be Temple in Cincinnati. Ryan Wallen of Owls247.com joins me to preview that next when the AAC report, only on the Nightline Sports Network, continues after this.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Nightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com.
Turning now to our Spotlight Game of the Week. The 5th-ranked Cincinnati Bearcats taking on Temple. And joining us to talk about that matchup is Ryan Wallen of Owls247.com. Ryan, as always, we thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Always a pleasure.
Well, I tell you what, so far, let's talk about Temple season so far. It's been kind of an up and down season on the gridiron. A blowout loss to Rutgers to start the season. They rebound with a big win over Akron. Get defeated pretty handily by Boston College. They defeat Wagner, and then, of course, go to 1-0 in conference with a big conference win last week against Memphis. So what is your take on the status of the season so far?
Yeah, I think obviously this past week was a huge win for Temple, just showing that they can compete in conference again, especially after last year's disaster of a season. Obviously, COVID played a factor in that, but, like we said, every team dealt with COVID, so that couldn't be too much of an issue. But, beating a team in Memphis that has consistently been one of the top teams in the conference, one of those ones that you were expecting to maybe compete for the title. That was just a huge win, especially on homecoming. It was an incredible atmosphere. So I think that just showed that Rod Carey has this team going in the right direction. It was just about putting things together early in the season. You had some of those early season losses that you mentioned to Rutgers and Boston College, kind of set off by injuries, some self-inflicted stuff in there. They turned the ball over 5 times against Rutgers, and they actually had turned it over 3 times against Rutgers in the first half. And then they actually had climbed back into that game 26-14 before DeJuan Mathis, Temple starting quarterback, went out in the third quarter with an injury, and then the blowout was on from there. Boston College, same thing. It was just a lot of self-inflicted stuff. Penalties really killed them in that game. They had a true freshman in Justin Lynch starting that game. I think if Mathis plays that game, the score might have been a little closer than indicated, closer than what it was. Not saying that Temple maybe would have beat Boston College, but I think it would have been a more respectable score because they for the most part, did a really good job of holding Boston College's offense in check. So But yeah, I think it's off to a pretty good start. Obviously, Friday's going to tell the tale of just how competitive Temple's going to be in this conference. Obviously, playing a top 5 team in Cincinnati on the road, that's going to be a real big test. Not saying they're going to win, but I'm hopeful that at least it's going to be a competitive game.
And of course, you talked about Juwan Mathis, and he really seems to be kind of getting a good grip on his role in the system, and it has been playing well. Give me your take on him.
Yeah, Mathis, we knew coming into the season, obviously billed as a highly recruited player, had committed to Georgia, lost his job, obviously, to Stetson and Daniels eventually. So, he had a reason to transfer because he was sitting looking at third string being there. So, we knew that he had the talent. We knew he had the arm strength and we had seen that on video coming into the season. But, that first game against Rutgers, that first half, he looked a little shaky. And that's, I guess, to be expected for a guy who had only really seen action in 2 college games. And he got clocked in the one game, and which is why he missed some time later in the year and lost last year at Georgia. So I think it was just more getting back into that game speed thing. Rutgers, obviously, I think does have a pretty solid defense, and I think we've seen that this year already, holding Michigan to 20 points in their game against them. So I think that it was just the talent there was a talent gap there, and Temple's O-line didn't play very well to help Mathis any in his first start. But the last 2 weeks, the action that we've seen from Mathis has been, it's been like a completely different player out there. It helped that he got his feet wet against Wagner, which is one of the worst FCS programs in the country. And I think that was really good timing for him to come back, get his feet wet, just get some game reps in, get used to that game speed again, see how his ankle was doing. And then last week, I think you really saw that he's a legitimate quarterback, and he's going to be a legitimate quarterback in the American Conference. Not to say Memphis's defense is the best or as strong as it has been in years past, but you still have very good talent on that team. They have the leading tackler in the nation right now on that team. So it was nice to see. And it wasn't just that he was throwing screen passes. He was throwing it up there for guys. He was very accurate with the deep ball, like I mentioned already. And, I think he's in for a very, very good Temple career pending, a major injury, which we obviously don't hope for.
Yeah. And of course, I think too, another key part of that Memphis game was not turning the ball over. So that's always what you want out of your quarterback as well. So Cincinnati's number 5 in the nation, and this is their first conference game. So Temple is getting first shot at the King of the Mountain. Cincinnati has been prone to slow starts. They could be prone to a letdown. I mean, they're it's a tall order to beat the Bearcats, but I think at least as far as the timing of the schedule goes, getting them now might be a great opportunity.
I completely agree with you, and especially it being coming off that Notre Dame win for them, I think this is the perfect time to actually play them. They're susceptible. There's still early season things that you could be getting into, first conference game. And, before Dylan Gabriel went out for UCF, I would have said that this was a really, really perfect time because Cincinnati might have been looking ahead to the Knights instead
of the trap game. Yep.
So, I still think it's a favorable game for them. I don't think UCF's still a slouch by any means or a guaranteed win for them, even though they lost to Navy last week. I think that just shows how deep the league is and that any team can beat any other team on a given week. I'm not saying, again, like Cincinnati's going to lose this game by any means, but I think that, just the history between these two programs, Temple always plays Cincinnati tough. 2019, Temple went out there, and they took them down to the wire, and that was a 15-13 sloppy football game, tough defense, very little scoring. And I think that this is actually going to be another tough defensive game on Friday night.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting when you look at that, because, you do look at both of these teams, both these coaches, and they like physical football and they like defense. And so I think that certainly is this is definitely the game you want to watch if you like seeing that kind of football.
Yeah, it's an old school football game, and Temple has prided itself on that over the years, dating back to Matt Rule, Al Golden, Steve Adazio. It's always been about that Temple tough defense, and Luke Fickell obviously has put forth one of the best defenses in the nation the last few seasons. So I think that just speaks volumes for both teams, that they're not really adapting to that quote unquote new style of college football where it's just a shootout and, some teams don't play defense. So I love that type of game. I like guys that are hard hitting. And I think we really saw that on Saturday when Temple was playing Memphis. There were just guys getting after it. And, they were playing till after the whistle. They were hitting hard. And that's what you need to do if you're Temple. And I think you just got to come out and punch Cincy in the mouth.
Do they have to play the perfect game to win?
Part of me says yes. And by that, I mean that Temple has to do what it hasn't done all year, and they need to come out and get off to a good start. They have been outscored 50-7 in the first quarter this season. Their only touchdown coming against Akron in the second game of the year in the first quarter. So I definitely don't think you want to be playing from behind against Cincinnati when their defense is as good as it is in that hostile environment that it's going to be at a sellout at Nippert on Friday night. So I think they need to do that. You mentioned not turning the ball over against Memphis. They need to not do that again. This is 2 straight weeks they've done it, so I think it's bound to happen at some point, especially since the Bearcats secondary is one of the top secondaries in the nation, and I believe they have Sauce Gardner, who, he's one of the best corners in the nation. So I think you just have to not turn the ball over, get out to a good start. You got to control the run, and that's something Temple also has struggled with this year. Cincinnati has a good running back in Jerome Ford. So, and obviously Ritter's a running threat as well. So, and he has not done that so much this year already. So that's always a factor as well.
And of course, not that you want to look past this game, but notwithstanding, after this game, the schedule is very interesting. They'll follow up with South Florida. They've got a date with UCF, East Carolina, Houston down the road, which Houston right now 2-0 in conference could be a contender. And then you got Tulsa and Navy at the end of the season. Tulsa certainly has thrown their gears in reverse, it looks like. And this could be a very interesting opportunity for Temple to make a little bit of noise.
Yeah, I agree. I think the schedule after this game is quite favorable. I think really the only real test remaining is UCF, and with Gabriel out right now, I think that makes them vulnerable as well. I think that there is a path to bowl eligibility this year, and I think that was helped monumentally by that win against Memphis on Friday. I'm not thinking Temple's going to go undefeated in conference or even 7-1 or 6-2. I think 5-3 is a more realistic bet at this point. But, just the fact that before the season, I think Vegas had the win total at 2.5 or 3.5 for the Owls, and now they're already sitting at 3. And they have a very favorable schedule, as you mentioned, coming up with teams that just haven't played up to par this year. You mentioned South Florida. They still look like they're in limbo in a transition year. They have a young quarterback as well, so that's always favorable. UCF, favorable young quarterback playing right now. Navy just hasn't played like Navy the last couple seasons. Tulsa, I don't know what's happened to them, and I'm quite surprised, honestly. But
me too.
But Houston right now looks like they might be the second or third best team in the conference, and luckily Temple avoids SMU this year, so they don't have to worry about defending that monster of an offense. So, and I don't even know if Houston's the best team and the third best team in the conference statistically, because they have a very favorable schedule. I believe they avoid Cincinnati and UCF. So, like right now, if you had to put a gun to my head and say who's going to be playing in the conference title game, I'd probably say it's going to be Cincy and Houston.
And of course, tomorrow is an important day for Temple. New leadership in the athletic department. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so Temple finally has a new athletic director after almost a year and a half of not having one, or having Fran Dunphy, former men's basketball coach Fran Dunphy, as the acting AD while they conducted the search. Temple is set to hire Arthur Johnson from the University of Texas, who is the associate AD of facilities management there. He's been there for 11 years, seems to have a really good resume as far as budgeting and facilities management there. So I think for Temple, that's the perfect hire if you're looking to build an on-campus stadium, which has been the goal and the talk for the last 5 years since joining the American. If they want to ever possibly move on from the American themselves, or just get more respect, I think building that on-campus stadium is very important to them. So I think Johnson's a perfect hire in that sense. He obviously has experience at a big time school in Texas, a lot of exposure within that program. So I assume he knows how to market very well. So hopefully he is able to market and get people excited again about Temple football. And beyond that, just Temple athletics in general, basketball, women's basketball. Temple's got a very good fencing team, just promoting that and marketing that to the community and the students and getting them more involved.
And I'm glad you mentioned the on-campus stadium, because that was kind of the thing that stuck out to me with the three teams of the American leaving from the Big 12 all have on-campus stadiums, and other teams that have been talked about, like a Memphis, or, for example, or a South Florida, they don't have that. And of course, Temple has to play in an NFL stadium too. So I think that is a very key and important point for future endeavors where realignment is concerned.
I agree. And now, it's just getting the city to approve that on-campus stadium. It sort of fizzled out a couple years back due to the pushback from the community and some students. I think now that Temple has had some time to mull over this plan that they had put forth, I think they actually have a new plan in place. They just haven't released it yet. They've moved the location of it more onto campus, so it's not going to be affecting neighbors, the houses that are in North Philly. So I think that once you get this new athletic director, he sees the plans a little bit. I think once there may be some more tweaks, maybe then they release it to the public, propose it to the city, and maybe they can get the ball rolling on actually getting some groundbreaking on that.
All right. Well, Ryan, as always, we appreciate it. So before we let you go, please, shameless plugs for your coverage of the Temple Owls.
Of course, you can always follow me on Twitter at RyanWallen247, or you can visit our site, owlsdaily.com, or it's 247sports.com/Temple.
Outstanding. Ryan, as always, we do appreciate your time, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, much appreciated, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Temple at Cincinnati, Friday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN. The Owls lead the all-time series 13-8, including one tie. And the Bearcats won the last time they met in 2019 in a 15-13 defensive struggle. Looking at our awards for football, the Offensive Player of the Week, Desmond Ridder of Cincinnati. As we mentioned, as he led their victory against number 9 Notre Dame, a 24-13 game, 323 yards of total offense and 3 touchdowns, 2 by air, and a big one in the fourth quarter on the ground. Defensive Player of the Week, Taylor Robinson of Navy, had a hand in 2 turnovers as the midshipmen came back with a fourth quarter victory over UCF. Set up the go-ahead touchdown with a fumble recovery with 8:28 left, and clinched the game with the interception in the end zone with 24 seconds to go. The Special Teams Player of the Week is Marcus Jones of Houston, 75 yards on 4 punt returns. That's an average of 18.8 per return, as that was big in helping them in the field position battle. Had a long return of 47 yards, and enters this week ranked third nationally in punt return average at 17.7 yards per return. Back with some more awards from other sports and news and notes. All that next when the AAC report continues after this.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Nightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Checking out players in other sports who take home weekly hardware, we first turn to volleyball, where the Offensive Player of the Week is Abby Walker, as Cincinnati had a 2-0 conference week, leading the American with 1.12 service aces per set and finishing fourth with 5 points per frame and 6 with 1.12 blocks per set. Hit .281 with 15 kills, 5 aces, and 7 total blocks. In a 4-set triumph against Memphis, added 10 kills on a .320 hitting percentage with 4 aces and a pair of block assists in their 4-set win over SMU. The Defensive Player of the Week, Alex Glover of SMU, a great run for them as they went 1-1, leading the American with 1.71 blocks per set and finishing second with a .481 hitting percentage among all conference players. Women's soccer, the Offensive Player of the Week is Megan Nielsen of Tulsa, scored a pair of goals, including the game winner in a 4-1 victory over Temple. Defensive Player of the Week, Elizabeth Say of SMU, as she aided the Mustang defense, allowing only 3 shots on goal and scored the opening goal in the 1-1 draw with UCF. The Goalkeeper of the Week is UCF's Caroline Delisle, had a career-high 11 saves in that 1-1 draw with SMU. The Rookie of the Week is Haley McWhirter of East Carolina. Got the opening goal in a 1-1 draw against Cincinnati and also played 69 minutes in the midfield when the Pirates beat Old Dominion. Men's soccer, the players of the week look like this. The Offensive Player of the Week is Alex Menard of Tulsa, as he helped them in a 2-0-0 week for the top-ranked squad in the conference, tying the American lead with 5 points. He found 2 goals, including 1 match winner and a primary assist for the Golden Hurricane. And the Defensive Player of the Week is Artur DeLuca of Memphis, turned in 2 impressive shifts on the Memphis back line in their 2-0 week, as they held Temple to just 3 shots on goal in a clean sheet victory on the road, and also in their victory over UCF. Goalkeeper of the Week, Colin Welsh of Memphis. Spectacular in his 2 road starts in that undefeated week, as he stopped 7 shots in the UCF game. Rookie of the Week is Kyron Chimbron of SMU in their 1-1 week for the 12th-ranked Mustangs, even though they had a hard 2-1 home loss at the hands of number 7 Tulsa in double overtime. Now it's 1 shot on goal in 33 minutes of action during the back-and-forth collision, and he also played 70 minutes with 2 shot attempts on goal against Temple with 1 shot on goal in that shutout. In golf, the men's players of the month, Sam Jean of Cincinnati, combined 8 under par of his first 2 starts of the season, 2 top 5 finishes, and 1 individual victory. Tied for 5th place to open the season to help the Bearcats claim a team championship at the Hoosier Collegial Invitation on September 5th and 6th at Fowl Course in Bloomington. And he kept the momentum rolling at the Badger Invitational, carding 7 under par in the tournament to finish as the medalist there. Connor McGrath at Temple, he came out of the gate strong. A combined 16 under par and a stroke average of 68.4 for the week. He established a school record score at the Golf Week Fall Challenge on September 12th and through the 14th at Myrtle Beach to finish as the sole runner-up at 13 under par. And during a team victory at the Cornell Invitational on September 19th and the 20th at the Watchung Valley Golf Club in New Jersey, he shared second place with rounds of 68 and 71 to finish 3 under 139. The women's golf player of the month is Oda Sophie Kilsty of East Carolina. Top 10 in both of her September starts with an impressive individual win to cap off the month. 6th place at the Golf Week Fall Challenge. Logged a 3-round score of even par 213. And led wire to wire later in the month at the ECU Pirate Classic at Greenville Country Club as the only player under par, coasting to a 5-stroke win to post 4 under par. Cross country, the men's athlete of the week, Alex Sandusky of Cincinnati. Tell me if you haven't heard that before. Brilliant race in the men's gold 5-mile race at the Notre Dame Joe Payne Invitational at the start of the month. Bested 151 other runners to place first with a time of 24:17.2, getting that win by a full 9 seconds. And the women's athlete of the week is Yasmin Wright of Wichita State. Her second race win of the season with a strong showing in the women's 6K Invitational at the Gans Creek Classic in Columbia, Missouri. A time of 20:53.9 to finish at the top of 153 runners who completed the course, taking the victory in just under 10 seconds. And finally, turning to hoops, the AAC will host its 2021 men's and women's basketball media days virtually October 13th and 14th. Those shows will air live on ESPN Plus beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday the 13th and 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Thursday the 14th. Those sessions for each school will have both men's and women's basketball head coaches and student athletes from all 22 teams. That'll do it for this week's show. As always, please follow me on Twitter at JeffAllen_88 and also follow the Nightline Sports Network at UCF_Nightline. This has been the AAC Report only on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks for listening.